When I was a child, Black Panther was, without a doubt, one of my favorite superhero movies ever made. 10-year-old me would deadass look you straight in the eye and say this is a better film than The Dark Knight. But that was many years ago, and a lot of things have changed since that time. And I recently rewatched the film in my film studies class, and now I'm gonna do a little reevaluation to see if it holds up to the standard that a young impressionable child held it as when he was growing up. Okay, so there are a lot of things that I could talk about with this movie, so I think we should start with the writing. I think that's like the most important thing, and it's the main reason I loved this film when I was younger, and to be honest, it's the part of the film that holds up the best. Now, I'm not sure if the writing is quite the masterpiece that I thought of it as when I was younger, but keep in mind that when I first watched this film, my main knowledge of cinema was Marvel, Star Wars, and children's animated movies. And if we're just looking at like those three things, then yes, this is definitely one of the better movies to exist. But now my cinematic reach has vastly improved, and while it's still great, I can definitely think of a lot of movies that are much, much better in their writing. I mean, Wakanda here is depicted as the world's most advanced nation, leagues above anywhere else, like America or anything like that, which is definitely a good counterbalance to the typical depictions of Africa in American media, where it's like this poor country with huts. And seeing an Africa that's this advanced with all this cool technology but still embraces African aesthetics and culture is a very cool and unique science fiction setting that definitely sets it apart from other science fiction films. But I also like how Wakanda isn't a perfect utopia. It may seem that way because it has all this super cool technology, the black people are chilling there, and it probably would have been real easy to just make a story about how Wakanda is so perfect and then I guess some random white people try to invade. But that's not what they did here. Wakanda, as great as it is, does have a dark side to it. Wakanda is a isolationist nation. Their advancement is literally kept a secret from the rest of the world, and they go to some very dark lengths to maintain that secret. They are willing to kill innocent people if it's what they need to do to keep the state of their nation a secret. This is why our main character, Black Panther, T'Challa, has to re-examine this tradition of secrecy, and the flaws of that are kind of brought to light by the film's villain, Killmonger. I think most people can agree that most of its writing strength comes from the film's main villain, Eric Killmonger, who is definitely one of the best Marvel villains to exist. Killmonger is the son of a Wakandan immigrant who moved to America, and his father tried to use the Wakandan technology to help impoverish black people in America, but because of the Wakandan sworn secrecy, he was killed and Killmonger was left behind. And now, his whole motivation is that we should use Wakandan's technology to benefit all black people, not just Wakandans. And it's a pretty compelling point. I mean, there are a lot of people in the real world that agree with Killmonger's philosophy. And even at the end, T'Challa admits that maybe he should change his ways to be more in line with Killmonger's philosophy. Now, Killmonger takes things way too far because he doesn't just want to help black people. He wants to create a black nationalist world and basically enslave all the white people. But his vengeance, in a way, feels justified, and he doesn't want to rule the world because he wants power. It's more about revenge for all of the mistreatment that black people have faced. So yeah, it's still some very captivating stuff, but I will say that it is just a tad bit less interesting than it was when I was younger. I don't know if that's just because I've seen this movie before or because I know more about storytelling now. I mean, it's still a great story. It's just slightly less interesting to me than it was when I originally found it. I mean, when I was writing this review, I realized that Killmonger is basically just Black Magneto. That's really all that it comes down to. Also, all this interesting stuff with Killmonger and philosophies on black culture and how we should engage with each other. All this interesting stuff doesn't even come into play until the second half of the film. The first half is still really good, but it's more of a standard Marvel movie with nothing particularly impressive compared to most Marvel movies. Well, at least most Marvel movies from this time when the average Marvel movie was still good. I mean, I do understand why they did it. It creates a good bait and switch because Killmonger is kind of like a twist in the second half of him being the main villain, because the first half has the villain Victor Claw and you just assume that he's gonna be the main villain as an ordinary racist villain for this film, and then we switch to Killmonger, who is much more engaging and complex as a character. But still, we could have made that first half a lot shorter, I feel. Because after you've seen it the first time, you're just kind of sitting there waiting for the great part to start. Okay, so those were my thoughts on the writing, which is the thing that stands out the most to me, and I think most other people that love this movie. But there's something else I have to talk about, because upon this rewatch, there was an aspect of this movie that was kind of terrible, and that was the special effects. At the end of the day, this is a science fiction action movie, which means that there is a lot of special effects, and it doesn't look great, I'll say that. You know, obviously, I think a lot of people were willing to bypass this just because of how good the other aspects of this film were. But some scenes in this film, I mean, this shit is like, some of these scenes are like Flash level. Okay, nothing looks as bad as the Flash movie, but man, it gets pretty damn close. I think this mainly goes for the final fight scene in the cave, which just looks like a PlayStation 2 game. I mean, you can clearly see that these characters just do not feel tangible in any way. I think that's my biggest problem with the CGI and why the final battle just looks so awkward. Black Panther moves like he's made out of rubber, like he's literally stretching in these action scenes, and it just seems really weird. I was comparing some of these scenes to The Flash, and I guess upon rewatch, it's not that bad, but it's really not that great either, and for a film that relies this much on the special effects and CGI, especially in the finale, it kind of is a big detractor for me. I mean, the outside scene looks like super awkward too. It's all these people fighting around on this not great green screen background, and it just feels like a bunch of LARPers, kind of. And then you switch back to the rubber-looking Black Panthers fighting in the train tunnel. I don't know why the effects were so lackluster on this film. My guess is that they were putting all their attention on Infinity War, which is like came out 2 months after this, and had really great special effects, but still, it's kind of a big problem for me. But you know, that's just for the CGI. I mean, the production design is decent and the costumes are pretty great. So yeah, even though I like this movie less than I did before, I still think this is a really great film, especially for a superhero movie. Is it better than The Dark Knight? No, and I I'm a little embarrassed for ever thinking that it was, but it's still a great movie. So yeah, I'm gonna give Black Panther an 8 out of 10.